Hey folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case addressing the kit that you probably want to have in case of civil unrest, rioting, similar to what we're seeing in Argentina right now. And before you think otherwise, this applies to you as well, no matter where you are, my friend. And yes, I'm talking specifically to my British subscribers, which I know I have plenty. This is a UK legal shotgun. With your shotgun license, you can get this gun right there. This is actually from UK, so I know what I'm talking about. So please do stick around. I'm not talking about anything new. This is all pretty much known. There's probably going to be a few things here and there, specifically given what we're seeing in Argentina, what has been working for people defending their stores in Argentina right now, and trying to learn from that. As always, none of this does you any good if you don't have the knowledge. Ideally, you will have some firearms training, and not about hunting. No, I'm talking about tactical use of firearms, defensive use of firearms, the kind of thing you learn in classes. If you cannot have that, street survival skills, that book of mine over there, this will be putting you ahead of the curve, because I'm explaining some of the things that I've learned in different parts of the world from, yes, classes I've taken even in UK with shotguns is stuff that it's pretty universal. So if you haven't had the privilege of taking classes on learning how to use guns, street survival skills in terms of firearms, rifles, handguns, I cover the basics in that book over there. For the economic aspect, you have street survival skills. Guess it's important given everything you see around the world right now, and Argentina, unfortunately, yet again going through the same thing. Having said all that, let's get to it. So you see a few guns here. As I was just saying, this is a gun that is legal pretty much anywhere in the world, as long as it's a democracy, as long as it's not a communist dictatorship where you have no freedom left at all. In UK, you can own that gun. All over Europe, you can go own pretty much all of those guns, same for the United States, right? But one of these guns, this gun will be enough just to keep you safe. We saw a store owner protecting his street along with a few other guys using a pump action shotgun. The pump action shotgun is great for that because it allows you to use some of that less than lethal ammunition. And before you're thinking, oh, if someone is attacking me, I'm using lethal. Yes, that is on you. You have all the right. But I'm telling you right now that that guy over there is very real, and he was using less than lethal ammunition in that video, and he used it to great success because he stayed out of jail. He didn't kill anyone. He was not looking to kill anyone. We're not bad people. We're just trying to defend ourselves. And in that very specific situation, less than lethal ammunition got the job done perfectly well without putting him in any shallow legal grounds of having to defend himself because there's a couple dead guys down the street, right? Now, having said that, this is the same gun. You can put buckshot in it, which makes it perfectly adequate for home self-defense. Now, be very careful. Again, training is crucial, and I would insist, if you have any opportunity of taking classes with a qualified, recognized instructor in the community, go for that all day long. The book will cover the basics. That's a lot better from having no knowledge whatsoever. But I encourage you to take classes with someone that knows what he's teaching. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of those. There's lots of people that are not all that great. But anyway, very careful with not mixing up ammunition. Semi-automatic guns are even better for fighting, such as the case of the M4 Colt that you see over there. Yes, but this will have the advantage of using that less than lethal ammo and also having the lead if it's needed. The other thing I would encourage you to buy, which lots of these guys, well, none of these guys had, is ways of carrying that ammunition. Something as simple as that belt with room for 25 shells that you can have in your belt. Buy a bunch of those. Buy a bunch. They're cheap. They're cheap enough. I'll see if I leave links there below in the description. They're cheap, and you can have across one as a belt, one across your chest, because you're gonna be using a lot of that ammunition. Unlike lead ammo, which you use very little of in self-defense situations, 2, 3, 4 shots. Usually that's the average. When it's about using as a dissuasion, when it's about intimidating attackers from carrying on their objectives, you're going to be using that a lot more. You're going to be firing 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 rounds. It's not unheard of. It's actually quite common. So you need to have a lot of that less than lethal ammo. Sometimes it's about just the noise. Sometimes it's about the intimidation of a bunch of rubber buckshot hitting them in the legs and sending them off, right? But you need to sustain that maybe throughout the night. Ideally wouldn't be the case, but it wouldn't be the first time that happens. So ways of having that ammunition. Of course, you want to have, if at all possible, a vest, ballistic protection, soft Kevlar panels. Even better would be having that combined with hard plates for those rifle rounds. The soft ballistic plates, Kevlar, will stop lead buckshot and most of the handgun calibers, but when it comes to an M4, 5.56, yeah, it will go right through those soft panels. You want to have plates, but some ballistic protection will be hugely appreciated, and then you can combine it with mag pouches, pouches for other things, your gun. For example, that gun, that Glock 9mm over there, that light does not fit, so make sure you have something that is adequate for what you're using. You want to have lights in your gun, in your long gun specifically. That's a very good idea. A red dot, even though it's not a night sight, will aid nicely so as to have a good acquisition of that dot in nighttime. And yeah, you can go on on more on that, but some kind of gun. Look, the way I see it is, I have my sidearm for self-defense, I have my shotgun with less than lethal ammunition in that specific looting scenario. But if that changes or escalates into they're now using guns against us, or they just came right ahead using guns against us, I'm not waiting. I'm just jumping straight into my long gun and my handgun, specifically the long gun for that kind of thing. You don't try to deal with lethal threat with less than lethal ammo. But the more tools you have in your box, the better it is, right? Either changing ammunition or entirely changing gun. The more options you have, the better that is. Now, in terms of comms and so on, yes, lots of these guys that we see right now in Argentina, they with their cell phones. WhatsApp is not as popular in the United States. WhatsApp is an app you probably want to have installed and make sure your neighbors have as well. It helps communicate. It works very nicely. But if phones go down, you want to have your radio. That is your, a little bit of a nicer Baofeng radio. Still the same thing. But Baofengs are cheap. We talked about them many times. Learn how to use them. And yes, during emergencies, you don't need a license, so have them. You're perfectly fine. A flashlight, yes, makes sense to have a flashlight besides the ones that you have in your firearms. Maybe you have one in your helmet if you have one, or a headlamp. It's all a good idea. About having a mask, not just any mask. No, we're talking about the real masks that actually work for these things. If there's police deploying any kind of tear gas, and I've been in situations in 2001, the ones that I described in Surviving the Economic Collapse, where shop owners rushed into gun stores buying less than lethal ammo for their shotguns, and they definitely put it to good use. They were also buying tear gas, which was being sold for whatever reason. And some people that I know of, they use tear gas to get people out of their stores or out of their streets, and that has worked just as well as it works for police. Now, if you're deploying tear gas, or even if you're using that some of those big or cans of Red Saber pepper spray or some other device that uses some kind of tear gas, you want to have a mask. Not just any mask. Particle filters will not get the job done. No, you want something that filters the fog and the mist that is pepper spray or tear gas being used, and this works perfectly fine for that. With that mask, it's as if it's nothing. It's not even there. It doesn't bother you at all. The guy next to you without that mask, he's crying his eyes out. He cannot see. He's probably vomiting right next to you. So that's a huge advantage if tear gas is being deployed by police, by rioters, by yourself. And in these days, given how things are, I wouldn't put it past them to use some kind of improvised chlorine device of some sort. You just don't know what people come up with. That makes a huge difference if you ever encounter any of that. Finally, some way of having a first aid kit, blowout kit, keeping it simple, at the very least, having tourniquets and some ways of stopping bleeding. Hemostatic gauze is a little bit more expensive, but it works beautifully well, so that's what I recommend having. Watch a few videos, take a class if you can. Some of the videos out there, they're very good. I'll try to leave a link of a guy that I saw some content of, which is great. He explains that even with a common t-shirt, you can pack that wound up and stop. But improvising a tourniquet, that is another completely different game. You want to have the tourniquet having maybe several if you can. Guys, that's basically it. This is strongly based on events that I've seen unfold many times in the past, events that I've been caught in myself, which I've written about, and unfortunately happen yet again. And as things develop, as we see all of these things happening in other countries, this is something that you can learn from past experience, from experiences that people in Argentina are still having right now, and incorporate this into your preparedness right now. Don't wait. Just trust me on this. This is the kind of thing you want to have no matter if you live in the United States, no matter if you live in London, no matter if you live in France or anywhere else. These things will make a big difference if you ever find yourself in this kind of civil unrest. There's no improvising some of these things when it comes down to it. And of course, the sooner you have it, the sooner you learn how to use it, the better it is. Folks, all for now. Subscribe to the channel. See you on the next video. Take care.